Here. It's going to be on Facebook Live, so you can watch it on the Downtown Huntsville Craft Beer Facebook page. But if you want to ask some questions or come on over here and pull your chairs up, it's going to be like a little fireside chat with Brent Cole. So, slow down and calm down, everyone. It's just Brent. So. Let's hear it for Brent Cole. All right, so we got Facebook Live crowd here. Thank you for joining us. One of the really cool things about Huntsville is we have all these breweries, and a lot of them are concentrated into a really close area. The Downtown Huntsville Craft Beer Trail. Within 2 miles, you have 6 breweries and 4 craft beers. So each month, we're going to talk to a different brewer about the inside scoop about their brewery. So this month, Brent Cole, the brewmaster for Salty Nut, is here with us. So tell us the official title that you are in your wonderful beer.
I have many titles, I guess. So head brewer is probably the title everybody knows me by, but I'm the founder, the president, so any other thing I think of.
So you've been here since day one of Salty Nut.
Day one.
So one of the questions a lot of people want to know on Facebook and around here, they want to know is like, how did the brewery get started? What are some of your favorite beers? What are some of your favorite breweries you've been to? So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Salty Nut. You're sitting around the table with Sean, I guess, and some folks. How did you come up with Salty Nut Brewery?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is legal to say this, but I was sitting at work, and I was thinking, I was like, I really, like beer. I want to make beer, and Sean was actually there, believe it or not, and I was like, I'm gonna start making beer, and I made the first beer, and then after that beer, I said, I'm gonna start a brewery. And then from then on out, I spearheaded starting a brewery, and the rest is history, I guess.
How'd you come up with Salty Nut? That's a kind of a quirky name. I've been to Salty Dog in Hilton Head, but Salty Nut.
So it's a horrible story. Everybody always asks that. Like, it's not a great story, but I'll
make up a really good story.
I can't. I've tried. But so really, what it boils down to is the group of guys who we started the brewery with. We used to hang out all the time, grill, drink beer, and stuff. And it got winter, so we still wanted to hang out and grill and everything. So we started playing Rock Band. And our band
video game Rock Band.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So our band name was Salty Nuts. And so it just came out. Me and Mark Ivy, who used to be part of the brewery, we were sitting at the Nook, and I was like, I'm going to do this brewery thing. I don't know what to call it.
Isn't that where all breweries got started, at Connell's place?
Exactly.
Mr. L had birthed all breweries.
Yeah. So we were at the Nook, and I said, I'm going to start this brewery. I don't even know what to call it. And he said, call it Salty Nut. And I said, all right. So and that was it. I followed the name, and that's how it happened.
So you got a brewery going on, and it was like being the early days in your living room in Evangel Circle, right? That was where it was.
Yeah.
How did y'all say let's get this random, really quirky place on University? Was it just what's available, or was there?
So we looked, believe it or not, so I actually started the business in 2011.
Okay.
And it took us about a year to find a place. And I knew a friend of mine is Kenny Putnam. He's really big in town about all the rest of the commercial spaces. And I said, you got any place that we can actually rent? And he said, yeah, I got a place. Like, it's not the best place, but I got a place. I said, okay. We looked at it, signed a lease, and then that was our home. Like, we didn't know any better, Like, to us, that was huge. Like, we had a place to call home, and it wasn't the nicest, fanciest place, but for us, it was a starting point. So.
All right, so if you're watching on Facebook Live and if you were at the original Salty Nut Brewery tap room, the living room, if you were, make sure you comment on that, because that was a pretty classic place. You could stop by on a random Sunday, and to be like Sean there watching hockey, he would occasionally charge you for beer, right? Wasn't always. Sometimes it was just, all right, just take it. Yeah. What was the first beer that Salty Nut officially brewed, though?
So the very first beer was Hot Naughty IPA. So, and believe it or not, that was the very first recipe that I did all grain batch on the homebrew level. And so I was like, man, this beer is good. And that's what actually made me start the brewery. So I brewed it on a homebrew level. It was all grain. It turned out good. And I said, I'm taking this. Like, other people got to drink this. Other people got to try this. And that was the first beer we actually brewed.
They got hot naughty. We brought in people from another state.
People who know beer.
Just to drink.
very first recipe, the very first beer we actually did.
What's your favorite style as a brewing professional now? What's your favorite style?
So I love every beer. I will. Most people will not like this. I'm sorry, but IPA is my favorite style. The reason I like IPAs the most is because there's so much variation, right? So the IPA style is very basic, but when you add all the different hops that are across the world, it makes it a totally unique beer. So that's one reason I like IPAs. They're all different. They're all different.
And so the family of IPAs for Salty Nut are Hop Naughty, the original, and what other IPAs?
So in the past we've done Squatch Double IPA. Now we've just released Long Live the Chief, which is a double IPA. We've done a couple of Pale Ales, a Session IPA, or Session Pale Ale, and a few one-offs, but a little bit of everything.
Good. Hey, can I get your attention real quick? Anybody got a question for Brent? It can be a completely awkward, socially awkward question. Anybody got a question for Brent? Nobody has a question for Brent. Yes, you have a question for Brent.
Can you tell us about when you decided to make the jump from I assume, like regular full-time job to starting your own company and how that?
I actually still have a full-time job.
Okay. Well, this one.
Yeah. Full-time job pays the bills. So from moving to our smaller place to here. So really, at some point, to make profit, to actually continue the business, you have to grow. So when 805 was starting and Yellowhammer was moving, we were in talks with Yellowhammer probably a year before 805 even got mentioned, because we knew that they were moving somewhere. So we were in talks with them, and it just felt like the right place to move to. We wanted to be next to the action. We wanted to keep this place alive, and so it just fit. So that we decided to make the move. We couldn't grow anymore where we were at, and we were like a hole in the wall in a random place. So we need more frontage.
Great. So just a few more questions. You got a question over there, Ellen?
I've got a question. What do you tell people who say, I don't like drinking heavy beer, or I don't like they're skeptical of the craft beer scene?
Yeah, so that's a funny question. So a lot of people don't like heavy beers. They don't like dark beers or high alcohol beers. So that's why we brew like our blonde. We call that for the Bud Light drinkers because it's a craft beer, but it's light. It's 4.7%. It's going to give you that lager pilsner taste. It's not a lager pilsner, but it's going to taste like that. And so that's why we put it in cans and everything else. So that's a very good entry beer for a lot of people that come in here.
A lot better flavor.
A lot better flavor. A lot better flavor.
What's the hardest beer you've ever brewed? Like you're like, oh my gosh, I can never get this right. What's the hardest beer?
Man, I would say our hardest beer was our sweet potato.
Sweet potato.
Yeah. So our sweet potato ale, we did it a couple times. It's been a few years, but I actually went to the local market, whatever, and bought 40 pounds of sweet potatoes, and I baked them in my oven.
At the house?
Yeah, at the house.
What did your wife think when you were baking those potatoes?
She thought I was crazy. She's like, what are you doing? So I baked these potatoes, and it took like 3 hours. And then I had to peel all the potatoes and cut them up. And then we add spices and everything with that beer. So to hit that beer just right was extremely difficult. And very time consuming. So
a lot of the beers are higher gravity and then lower gravity. So is it true that higher gravity beers are often more expensive to make, and if so, why?
Yeah, they are. So the more grain, the higher gravity beers, the more grain it takes, and so the more grain it takes, the more it costs. The IPAs are more expensive because they use more hops, and hops more used, more expensive. So it's a volume game. So the blonde is a little bit cheaper because it doesn't have as many hops and fewer grains. So.
All right. So before we finish up here, tell us about the current Salty Nut team. Who's on the team? What are their roles? I know we see Jay and Shay and a lot of different people moving around.
Yeah. So we have me, of course, and then Sean is. What do I want to label Sean as?
He's the wanderer.
Yeah, so Sean has his hands in a little bit of everything. He does a lot of our paperwork. Daniel pays the bills. Jay he does some sales. Shay manages the tap room, and Patrick does our cider.
And Shay's got an interesting story. She's out of town, so she may be watching us. She actually started as a customer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so Shay and Patrick, they were customers of ours, and Shay actually, I met her for the first time when we did Pro Bono Brews, and she was working our tent, and every time I needed a beer, she's like, "You need a beer?" And I was like, "Yeah." So she kept bringing me beer like all night, and so like after that, like she just started hanging out. Her and her husband, Tall Wonder, Matthew's sister, I call him Tall Wonder. You know, they were hanging out with us, and then you know, because they had invested so much time and they had so much passion about like what we were doing, it just felt right to kind of bring them on the team.
So I think the lesson is, if you want to join the Salty Nut team, overserve Brent, right? I mean, that's pretty straightforward route.
Get enough beer to make anything's a go, I guess.
All right, so last question, we'll wrap it up here. I don't remember having a lot of Belgian beers here. That seems to be a rage. Doubles, triples, quads. Have you brewed them before? And if so, if not, you know, what are some of the challenges about, because everyone seems to have a Belgian in their back pocket, right?
Yeah, so we've done some Belgians before. We've done a double before. But we kind of keep it right now just like with American ales. The reason we do that is just, to me, it's more friendly, maybe is the right word. So like a lot of people when they come in, they don't know to ask, like, I need a Belgian quad, but they'll be like, what's your lightest beer? And so we just kind of focus on the American ales right now. We've got into lagers a lot more here lately. We do plan on getting into Belgians more, but it's just a matter of time and space.
Do you have a brew mentor in town?
No, I don't guess
Certainly
so.
not Keith Yeager, is it?
No, it's not
Keith.
Keith.
Look at the cameras.
It's not Keith. No, I mean, to be honest, I just kind of do my own thing, and just, you know, if it turns out, it turns out. And luckily, we've had a lot of good luck. We really haven't had any beers we've had to turn away. So everything can always be improved, and everything can always move forward. But just kind of learn and do as I go.
So I sent you a list of questions. The last one I haven't asked is there a type of beer that you haven't brewed yet, or you haven't brewed to the level you want to, that you're like, that's like the golden goose out there. I want to hit that brew. I want to master that type of beer.
Yeah, so I'm going to say there's two of them.
Two, okay.
So I've actually done one, but we haven't put it on tap. We haven't done it on a big scale, but it's a barley wine. So I want to do that same barley wine we tried before. I want to do that again. It turned out
the famous Verns and
So and what happened was we brewed the barley wine at the old location, and we were moving here, but it was too heavy to move over here, so we just had to dump it because we had nothing left over there.
you had to pour out barley wine.
Yeah, it was only 15 gallons, but we had to pour out the barley wine. It smelled and tasted great. So I do want to do that again.
So barley wine, what's the other one?
Yeah, and we've done a few sours, but I want to do sours more. It's just harder with cross-contamination and everything, but I want those to be on tap more often. That's the only thing my wife drinks, so if I brew more of those, then, you know, she'll be happy.
Now you have a kiddo now, right?
Yeah.
So if he says, Dad, I want to be a brewer, what would you say to him?
Don't do it.
Why not, man?
So, you know, being a brewer is amazing. Like, you know, seeing, you know, people enjoying the beer and stuff like that. Like, that's all I ever hoped for when I brewed the first beer, was that when the first person, like, took a drink, like, they liked it. And I just want to share, like, the creativity that you can come out of brewing with everybody else. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's not just making beer and drinking it, although I do that a lot. But it's more about running a business. At some point, it's about running a business. And so the business side takes over the brewing side a little bit more than I would like it.
So here we are in November. I'll finish up with this. What brews do you have coming out over the holiday season that want people to come to the straight tail? Just joking. The Salty Nut, it starts with an S.
Yeah.
Salty Nut tap room. What's going to be coming out over the next couple months?
Yeah, so we have a brand new stout that we're doing this year.
And that's the nice mystery beer. So first time it's ever come out is right here.
Yeah, so this is an Imperial Stout. It's not barrel aged, but it's been aging for a year. So I kind of put a keg back and just let it sit. But we have a new, I don't want to say regular stout, but it's going to be about 5.5% stout coming out. And then, so we have the stout, and we are. A lot of people are going to like to hear this, but we're going to bring back the coffee stout. So we're going to get Shelby from Wild Bean.
Wild Beans is making a cameo.
Yeah, so he's going to do all the coffees for it, and we'll have that out this season too.
Well, thanks a lot for all you do.
Yeah.
Huntsville is built on artisans and entrepreneurs, and you and Shay and Jay and Sean, they really represent that. So want to encourage everyone to come out to Salty Nut over the holidays. This is the very first ever conversation series, kind of a TED Talk on beer. Hopefully you learn more about the great beer they serve here. So, hey, if you like Brent Cole, let's hear it for Brent Cole. go. Perfect.
Not.